You're listening to the SmackDown RunDown on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome everybody to the SmackDown RunDown here on the AngryMarks Podcast Network. Yes, it is I, the one and only Nikolai, and I am back once again with my co-host Jordan Garber.
It is great to be back, as always, here tonight on the SmackDown RunDown. How is everyone doing tonight? And of course, how are you doing tonight, Nick?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just thinking back to this past episode of SmackDown, I really can't wait to talk about it. It was a really exciting show as we are on the road to WrestleMania, and we are on the fast lane to Fastlane.
Indeed we are, and Fastlane is building up to be an incredible wrestling pay-per-view. We already have Triple H and Sting, which we'll obviously discuss later in this broadcast, which is going to be an amazing, cool, a very history-making moment in professional wrestling. So that should be great to see. Fastlane is shaping up to be a great build-up to WrestleMania. Do you agree?
I can only half agree. I'm a little skeptical about this show. I mean, if the Royal Rumble pay-per-view couldn't measure up to standards of being a good pay-per-view, and to be honest, the first really good show that we have had in WWE in 2015 would have to be the NXT TakeOver Rival event on the WWE Network this past Wednesday night. Honestly, I think that was a lot better than the Royal Rumble, and I'm hoping that Fastlane can deliver.
I am so excited about NXT lately. As we have heard over the internet, I'm not going to go into details because we're obviously here to talk about SmackDown, but what do you think about Wrestling World 247 interviewee Rhino returning, as well as Brian Kendrick returning to WWE NXT? What do you think about all of that? Did you hear about that?
I heard about that, and from what I heard, that Rhino has not signed a full-time contract with WWE, but he's in an NXT at the tapings, not to give anything away, but yeah, he was at the tapings, and he's there to help the younger talent,
of course.
Work with them and everything, and that's always good to see. You have these guys that you can consider veterans of the business. Rhino is definitely a veteran. He's been with WWE for many, many years and had hundreds of matches there, and for him to show up in WWE programming, and the fact that it's on NXT is saying something about the mettle of this guy, that he is willing to help the younger talent and show up on the non-televised show and appear on NXT. So, that is a really good product down there. I have to tip my hat to Triple H for that. And, this is coming full circle after you just mentioned Triple H will have to have a face-to-face confrontation with Sting at the Fastlane pay-per-view, which we will discuss a little bit since we are just 1 week away from this new pay-per-view.
I kind of went on the other show about this whole Elimination Chamber thing, and I was asked a question during a podcast I did for somebody yesterday, and they asked, what do you think about the Elimination Chamber being removed and replaced by Fastlane? And I thought maybe we should have seen at least one Elimination Chamber match, because you don't need a whole Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. That's why they got rid of the concept, and apparently it cost them too much money. But why don't we see this one Elimination Chamber match at that pay-per-view instead of just replacing the whole thing and starting something new? Have that old tradition, if they had the money to get that Elimination Chamber in. Because that's probably really expensive as well, to get that whole thing in there. That's crazy. It must be a fortune.
Yeah, it is a lot of money to bring it in and assemble and all that stuff. But the fact, I do appreciate the fact that the Elimination Chamber is not right before WrestleMania, because you don't want to risk injuring a main top star right before WrestleMania. We've seen too many injuries happen before WrestleMania. We've seen it with Triple H. We've seen it with Wade Barrett. So many other guys have missed WrestleMania because of an injury in February or early March. So to have an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view or even an Elimination Chamber match, I thought was kind of ridiculous to have before WrestleMania. I thought it was just a little too risky, and guys are just going to take it easy and not really give it their all, so to speak, in order to put on a good show and save their energy for WrestleMania itself, which you should probably, have an Elimination Chamber in the summertime or maybe spring or something like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, too. And they used to do that, actually, in the past. So it's good that they replaced that old Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. As cool as it was to see, it's like, we get it. It's an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, that's cool. But you gotta move on one way or the other, pretty much.
Yes, and speaking of moving on, let's get to this past episode of SmackDown, where the show started with the Director of Operations, Kane, talking to several tag teams, including the returning Heath Slater and the reunited Slater-Gator, and told them that they're going to have a tag team Turmoil match. Now, this is always a fun match to see, where tag team Turmoil, two teams start the match, and the winner faces the next team, and the winner of that faces the next team, and so on and so on. You just knew that with all these tag teams involved, and the fact that Kane said that the two men starting would be Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, you just knew that this wasn't exactly a tag team Turmoil match. It's more like a tag team gauntlet.
Yeah, exactly. It is like a tag team gauntlet, like you just said. And, I don't know, those tag team Turmoil matches are, like, really fun to see, but it's just the way you said it, it is actually more like a tag team gauntlet.
Now, I mean, it was a tag team Turmoil, but the fact that, and we'll get into it a little bit, but the fact that it was Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns starting the match, you just knew that they weren't going to lose to, let's say, Los Matadores.
Oh, of course not.
But
definitely not.
But Big Show was there next to Kane, and of course, those two have been with the Authority, and they've been sticking it to Daniel Bryan, and now Roman Reigns is at the top of their list as well. So you just knew that the fix was in. I did appreciate that because, you got Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan facing each other at Fastlane in a number one contenders match for the world title. But the fact that you had to make them team up just like they teamed up on Monday Night Raw, it's like, all right, we got the whole quote-unquote strange bedfellows concept going on where these two guys are going to face each other at a pay-per-view, but they have to team up on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the first match of SmackDown we saw was Bray Wyatt versus R-Truth, and if you are living under a rock and you don't know what's going on WWE programming, you just know that Bray Wyatt is going over. And there was no point to this match. Not that it's a bad thing, it was really just to get Bray Wyatt over, and he did just that. There was no promo after that, there was no running, no jumping, nothing.
Think of it this way. You're going to see a match like that, and you saw a match like that 5 years ago. If Bray Wyatt was in that position 5 years ago in WWE back then, he'd be facing a jobber. All it is a squash match to put Wyatt over. That's all it is. And the only thing is, instead of getting a local competitor, they used R-Truth to lose to Bray Wyatt. That's all it is. They just don't use jobbers that much anymore. They do rarely when the Ascension does, but they just had that match just to put Wyatt over.
Right. So, how do you feel about the proposed match, Bray Wyatt possibly facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania, which is why Bray Wyatt has been winning all of these matches lately. Not that he's had that much competition.
If The Undertaker, first off, I'm always staying tuned on my Twitter, on my Facebook, and I've never actually seen much of that rumor. If The Undertaker is returning to WrestleMania, he's gonna go over as it will be his last. It's just gonna happen. The man has had a legendary career. He's gonna finish it on top. As for the match, I really haven't heard much about it, but I can see it happening. I think Undertaker could give it one more good year to go. But how has his health been lately, Undertaker?
Well, it's been reported that he looks old. Let's just say that, and obviously no disrespect to the man, but I mean, I personally would not want to see him return for another match. He lost at WrestleMania 30. That should be his send-off. I mean, he lost a WrestleMania match. Now all bets are off. If he wrestles again at WrestleMania, it's like, oh, well, he can lose, so I have no intrigue in this anymore. Now he's going to be, 22-1, 21-2? Those numbers I don't really care about. You know, I was always fascinated with 17-0, 18-0, 19-0, 20-0. He should have ended it right there. But then he went 21-0. Okay, you should have ended it right there. But then they had to put Brock Lesnar over at WrestleMania 30. And
the man that's leaving the company soon, too.
Right. And Undertaker is a legend, a living legend right now. And he is not in the greatest of shapes. After the match with Brock Lesnar, he legit had a concussion. He legit went to the hospital. He passed out backstage. You know, he couldn't walk after the match. I mean, if you've seen the 24/7 special on WWE Network, they had to carry him out. And, you know, it's really sad because, you know, he's almost 50 years old right now. And, you know, 21-1. He lost his first WrestleMania match. They should just end it right there and give Bray Wyatt another challenge.
I agree. I 99% agree with what you're saying. I was just thinking, if Undertaker's gonna end, if it's actually it for The Undertaker, I would just say he would finish on top. I don't know why. I just don't know why. I think that, although, it just doesn't seem right that after losing to Brock Lesnar and ending his WrestleMania streak, I just think it's gonna, I don't know. I could just see it. I could just see him finishing his career going over. But if that is indeed his last match, if he's facing Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, that indeed will be his last match.
I don't know. I don't. Normally, wrestlers don't always leave on top. You know, if you look at one of the biggest names in WWE in wrestling history, one of the most popular superstars, and most people don't even realize this. Stone Cold Steve Austin lost his final full-time scheduled match. You know, back in 2003 at WrestleMania 19, he lost to The Rock. And he hadn't wrestled matches since then because that was basically his retirement match that was unannounced. You know, I watched the Stone Cold documentary and The Rock's documentary, and both of them, they talked about that match, that Austin wasn't going to wrestle anymore after that because he obviously had two bad knees. He had the neck surgery that was coming back to him. He had to retire, you know, and he had to face The Rock. He faced The Rock for the third time at a WrestleMania, and basically Stone Cold was undefeated at WrestleMania against The Rock. You know, he had already won two before, so the third time he lost it, and that was his send-off. You know, Austin didn't really wrestle after that. I mean, he may have had some street fights or something. I really don't recall if he's had any full-on bell-to-bell matches after that, but that was his retirement match, and he lost.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, some people don't finish on top, some people do. So you make a good point there, and you really brought a valid argument. I don't know. I just don't know why. If Undertaker's facing Bray Wyatt, he would obviously put over Bray Wyatt. Actually, I don't really mean like. That's actually a hard prediction, actually. I just take what I said back. That's a hard match to predict. Because they want The Undertaker to finish on top if this match happens, but yet they want to put this up-and-coming a major megastar, Bray Wyatt, over. It's a topic that we could discuss for hours, pretty much.
You know, if Roman Reigns wasn't in the main event picture, I would have put Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not the case. That's not the case, obviously. But, you know, what challenge could Bray Wyatt have at WrestleMania if it is not Undertaker? You know, he's on a winning streak right now, basically, on TV, and he's been giving these promos backstage, and you know, he's obviously talking to or about someone. And he's not naming any names. He's just basically saying that, you know, you need to come home to hell, and, you know, the demon. I mean, these kind of words talk about Kane. You know, you think Kane when you hear hell, and the demon wants you to come home to hell, and we all know Kane is the devil's favorite demon. So, I mean, it's all very cryptic with Bray Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
Which is his MO, and one of the reasons why I love his character.
Yeah, Wyatt's character, honestly. The man, I've heard in interviews that he's done for a few lucky individuals, that he's just, like, he speaks right from his mind. They're not putting a script in front of him before he makes these promos. The odds of somebody who is put into an audience of 1 million people and in a live crowd of over 20 or maybe 10,000 people to come up with something on the top of your head and make it sound like gold each and every time, that means somebody like Bray Wyatt, who's doing this, has a true gift of yab. The man knows how to speak. The man is going to be a huge star one day. Just knowing that he says all those things on the top of his head at that moment with all of those people watching live and on TV, it's incredible. The man's an amazing, talented individual.
I have to agree. Next match we had on SmackDown, we have Summer Rae versus Paige in a one-on-one match. The Bella Twins were on commentary, and this has become a constant thing now where Paige is in a match, the Bella Twins are nearby, and Paige faced Brie Bella on Raw and won the match. She won against Alicia Fox last week. She won against Summer Rae this week on SmackDown. She's on a roll, and she's facing Nikki at Fastlane for the Divas Championship. I honestly thought they were going to give this role to Natalya. They seem to be going in the direction of Natalya and or Paige against the Bella Twins, which we saw at the Royal Rumble. They were in a tag team match. But I thought Natalya would have had this spot for the Divas title, but instead they gave it to Paige, and Natalya seems to be in a feud with the Usos and Naomi alongside Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. So they got that thing going on, which I want to talk...
Over a dinner date.
Yeah, last week on SmackDown, they had a double dinner date, and Tyson Kidd brought Cesaro to the date or whatever, and, you know, that whole thing, you know, got out of hand. But we'll talk about possibilities of future feuds and matches at Fastlane after SmackDown. But going back to the Divas, I'm really surprised that it's Paige versus Nikki for the title. I don't know why, but I am. It's just weird.
Yeah, exactly.
This feud kind of happened out of nowhere.
I don't want to see Paige win it. Paige, I'm going to tell you guys, everyone listening, my take on Paige. The woman is beautiful, and she's an incredible wrestler. When you're in the wrestling business and you're a women's wrestler, a women's competitor, and you're one of the sexiest women in the world, and you can wrestle and you have a great resume before coming to WWE, Paige is going to go far. She's already creating her legacy. However, I don't want to see the title on Paige again. I would probably wait a year or so till we see Paige with the title, because she's won it too many times this past year. But right now, Paige is the future of women's wrestling. I will say this, as of February 13th, 2015, Paige is the future of women's wrestling, by far. As for her match with Nikki, I'm going to see, Nikki's going to retain, I think, but as for Paige, the sky's the limit for this young lady.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Paige winning the title, and it's not that I never want to see her win the titles this soon, but like, I just, I don't know. I wouldn't expect Paige to win the title here at Fastlane.
Yeah, well, I just can't see it happening right now. It's like she's already had her time as the champion. Just give her a little bit of time and she'll win it again for sure, but it's not going to happen at Fastlane.
Moving on. We had another match, second week in a row. Adam Rose versus Fandango. Now, technically, this is the third time they've faced off because it was Fandango versus Adam Rose on SmackDown last week, on Superstars, and again on SmackDown this week. And Fandango won them all, just cutting right to the end. And Adam Rose is beating up the Rosebuds every single time. They dropped him on the trust fall last week. He didn't even attempt it this week, and he still beats them up. Adam Rose is basically a heel, and I'm okay with that.
Well, they have to do something with Adam Rose because he wasn't going over well as a face, so they're trying to figure out what to do with this character, and they're figuring out what to do with Adam Rose right now, and just give this thing a chance and see what happens with it, you know?
It's just weird because Fandango is a heel as well. Last week he was getting cheered, which honestly took me by surprise. Maybe Fandango can get over as a face. Who knows? But, you know, to see him beat Adam Rose 3 times in 2 weeks, I don't know. I mean, I actually rather Adam Rose as a heel, so I guess that's a win there, maybe, possibly, somehow.
Yeah,
I don't know. I still don't care for him.
Well, neither do a lot of other fans. And by the way, Kayla, who's a friend of mine on Facebook, I just heard news. It's kind of cool when you have all these other wrestlers on Facebook, all these independent talent from across the United States and Canada. It's always cool when they're tagged in TV screenshots of the extras being used as the Rosebuds. So Kayla was on, and I know her, so it was kind of cool to see her on SmackDown. That was awesome to see, so shout out to her. But, hopefully they do something with Adam Rose. They're trying to, and hopefully, I'm just going to give this thing a chance and see what happens with it.
Right. And, believe it or not, the tag team turmoil match, which was the main event, it actually started 45 minutes into the show. So
I didn't see there.
So when, you know, if you're in Eastern time zone, you know, the match started at, well, Daniel Bryan came out at 8:45 Eastern, 7:45 Central. You know, I mean, that's 45 minutes after the show starts that this tag team turmoil match got underway, and needless to say, they went an hour. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns went an hour in this tag team turmoil match. That has to be Roman Reigns' longest match. I think that's Roman Reigns' longest match in WWE.
In his career?
Maybe in his career.
Maybe even throughout his career in FCW as Leaki. Was that what his name was? But
yeah, that
was a really long match for him, you know.
And like hour. The opening bell, the bell rang at 8:52 p.m. Eastern. And this is just TV time, but from 52 minutes into the show and an hour 8 minutes later, that's TV time. You take out the commercial breaks, and that's probably just shy of an hour.
Yeah.
And this has to be his longest match, and I really enjoyed this. Now, one of the reasons why is, you know, The Miz and Mizdow were first. They disposed of them quickly. Then you had the Usos come out second, which I'm really surprised by because they didn't have any easy tag teams. The Usos were the second team to come out, and my God, this match went a long time. I think this match went, I can't say match. The Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns versus the Usos in this tag team turmoil must have went half an hour.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this bout went through 2 commercial breaks alone. That's 3 segments. That's 3 segments with the Usos.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the story that they told in this segment here, where Daniel Bryan was mainly in the ring and he was working over Jey Uso's arm and he was being aggressive against him. And we all know that the Usos and Roman Reigns are cousins. And Daniel Bryan was aggressive, was working the arm, he was hurting him, and he was staring at Roman Reigns the entire time. And Roman Reigns looked disgusted. He didn't want any part of it. He was actually defending the Usos at certain points. Daniel Bryan was smirking at him. It almost made you think that Bryan was playing the heel here.
Oh yeah, and you said that. The storytelling in this match was fantastic.
Definitely. I mean, the Usos were, getting beat up by the strategist, Daniel Bryan. I mean, he was picking them apart with arm bars and stomping on their elbows and kicks, drop kicks. And then there was just this awesome spot where I'm going to actually run it down because, this is the SmackDown rundown. And Jimmy Uso confronted Roman Reigns for pulling Jey off the cover because Jey had gotten, he hit a crossbody. Reigns pulled him off the cover, and Jimmy got in his face like, "What are you doing? What do you think you're doing?" Blah blah blah. And Reigns is like, we can't lose. We have to win. We can't let you guys win. Blah blah blah. Jimmy kicked him. Roman Reigns avoided the running butt bump in the corner. The same way Umaga did. Daniel Bryan hits a drop kick in the corner. Roman Reigns hits the drop kick from the floor to the apron. Jey Uso hits the Uso crazy dive. Daniel Bryan hits a suicide dive. We had a Superman punch, super kicks, the yes lock, and that ended the Usos' time in that match. And this was just probably the best part of this entire tag team turmoil.
Oh, of course. It was great. And you pretty much said everything I was going to say, is that it just perfect part of it, that's what we need. That's what wrestling needs, is a match like that. It was great.
So, not only was this tag team turmoil, it actually lived up to the name of the title of the match because Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, they're not a tag team, but they sure did have some turmoil in this match.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
But the match wasn't over because it's, like I said, tag team turmoil. It must continue until all tag teams have appeared. So Los Matadores were the next team to come out. Not giving Bryan and Reigns that much of a break. Bryan actually dominated this match. He basically took them out and got the yes lock for the tap out. Slater Gator were next. Roman Reigns said, "I got this." He took out both of them. Superman punch, spear, got them out. Just like that. Then it's time for the Ascension. Now, this is the biggest spot they have ever been in, hands down, because they're in the main event match of SmackDown against the two top stars, or two of the top stars in WWE, Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. This was just an ass beating. They just destroyed Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan outside the ring. They threw him into the ring post and to the announce table. They got disqualified. I don't know when or why or how they got disqualified because all 4 men were outside of the ring, but yet the Ascension were the ones disqualified.
And then that ended it for the Ascension.
Right. And that was it for them. I mean, they hit Bryan with the Fall of Man, their tag team finisher. They're about to do the same to Roman Reigns, but several referees came out and stopped them. And they did the job just enough for Big Show and Kane to get involved in tag team turmoil. And who knew?
That was the part where they got their brutal beatdown continued. However, they eventually overcame the odds, and you can explain the rest of it.
Who knew that with all of this one-upsmanship between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns having their own turmoil. Who knew that Big Show and Kane would have their own turmoil in this match? I mean, Big Show was dominant over Daniel Bryan, and Kane was yelling at him to finish it. Big Show was just saying, "I'm having fun. I know what I'm doing. I got this." And they were arguing more than Bryan and Reigns, and it seemed like those two were on the same page. Whereas Kane kept yelling at Big Show to take him out, finish him. What are you doing? Get the job done. Big Show was, he was just basically enjoying beating him down, but it broke down bad for the two giants.
Oh yeah, most definitely, it did break down.
Big Show knocked Kane out. Reigns speared Big Show.
He showed enough, and he just knocked Kane out right there, right then and there.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that you can get in the face of a angry giant, and Big Show sure did get in the face of Kane with his big fist. Reigns gave him a spear, Daniel Bryan hit the running knee, got the 3 count, and I think, and you can see it, Roman Reigns helped Daniel Bryan up. They had smiles on their faces as they looked at the WrestleMania sign, and you could see that they had mutual respect for each other.
Oh yeah, of course.
So this was a very, very fun match, start to finish. Over an hour TV time, but it definitely
was a classic. That's one of those matches where you're going to look back on and you're going to say, "Wow, I remember watching that on in February 2015. That match was a complete classic." That's a match that's going to be remembered for years to come in those wrestlers' careers for sure.
This is a match that in the final week of December 2015, I'm going to say one of my favorite matches on SmackDown this year was Tag Team Turmoil, which Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns outlasted every tag team and won it all. I can see myself saying that at the end of the year.
And it's going to be on the Best of Raw and SmackDown 2015 DVD that's probably going to be coming out in 2016.
That's right, because the Best of Raw and SmackDown 2014 is now coming out on DVD.
Can you get that on the WWE Network, or is it just on DVD?
Right now it's on DVD, but best believe they'll probably put that on the network maybe in spring or something like that.
It'd be kind of cool.
But yeah, this was a good episode of SmackDown. I enjoyed it. It had a lot to do with Fastlane, with the whole tag team turmoil, and the whole beef between Reigns and Bryan. They kept mouthing off at each other. They kept staring at each other. They kept jaw-jacking and trash-talking and every other phrase that you want to say that they had. And at the end of it all, you could see that they had mutual respect for each other.
Oh, of course. They did have mutual respect for each other, and it just leads up to them for their match. And it's going to be good to see, Who do you have for this match? Who do you think is going to win?
I'd hate to see either guy lose. I really don't want to see any of them lose their spot, and I can't really pick a winner. I could see either one of them going against Brock Lesnar.
Here's why.
The reason why, I just want to add on to this, I'm glad that it is face versus face, because it's not so perfect, clear-cut who's going to win. If it was Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, you're not going to say, "Oh yeah, it's Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania." No. You're going to say, "Oh yeah, it's easily Roman Reigns versus Brock at WrestleMania." But with this, it's like, wow, it could be either guy.
Oh yeah. Here's why I say that Roman Reigns is going to win, is because the Royal Rumble has a tradition of the winner of the Royal Rumble match goes on to WrestleMania. He's facing Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. Out of nowhere, Daniel Bryan said he never lost the title, so there we go, we're having Reigns versus Bryan. What would be the meaning of Reigns winning the Royal Rumble if he didn't go on to WrestleMania and follow that tradition? That's the only reason why I could see Reigns going over in this matchup.
That's true. But that has happened before. Not in that aspect, but there was that year that John Cena came back from injury and won the Royal Rumble. That's where he came at, the surprise number 30. You see the video packages all the time. John Cena, New York City, surprise return, number 30, wins the Royal Rumble. But that year, he didn't win the title at WrestleMania. You know, he faced Randy Orton at No Way Out the following month for the title, lost that Royal Rumble opportunity, but then it was Triple H, Cena, and Orton at WrestleMania, in which Orton retained. So, I mean, Cena had that Royal Rumble victory, but he cashed that in at the No Way Out pay-per-view, which I thought was kind of weird.
That's why I could picture it being a triple threat too. Nate, what if you think there's going to be a finish where it's a disqualification or something, and we're going to see Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar? That's also very, 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 very possible.
I have to go with that version instead. That is the most likely possibility.
Yeah.
But either way, because, you know, it kind of throws everything off when you know Brock Lesnar is most likely not going to be there after WrestleMania. So it's like, all right, well, Roman Reigns is clearly going to win the title since Brock Lesnar is leaving. But then you throw Daniel Bryan in there. It's like, okay, so either of these guys can win the title.
Good point. Very good point. And that's sad because we talked about earlier about the Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar to put him over, to make him this big monster heel. But Brock Lesnar's leaving now. So it's like, wait, then that sucks, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I understand completely. It's just, this is why, one of the points of my life as a wrestling fan, that I don't like knowing the backstage details about these things, because if I would rather not know someone's leaving so that I'm more surprised at the finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, this is what happens when you're when you're into this so much that you know the details going on. It's kayfabe is dead. You know, it's been said many times, and it's a shame.
It is, yeah, most definitely.
But regardless, SmackDown was good. Definitely one to go back and watch. Paige, Nikki advanced their feud for Fastlane. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, we talked about that in length. There's also Cena versus Rusev, which is now for the United States Championship. There's no way that Cena is losing this match clean, and there's no way that Cena's winning this match. So I see a disqualification here.
Of course. Of course. Why would Cena win the United States Championship if he's already won 10 world titles? I can't even keep track of how
15.
many he's won. 15. He's a 15-time champion, and all of a sudden they're going to say, let's put the U.S. title on Cena. Why? Oh, I don't know, just have some fun, you know. No, they're not going to do that. Well,
this will be Rusev's first title defense in 2015, sadly.
We'll see how it goes, but I'm not going to see Cena win this match. I don't think he's going to lose it cleanly. I think there's something else brewed up in this match to happen.
Yeah, you're not going to have Cena win the title, and you're not going to see Rusev go over Cena clean at Fastlane. I mean, the pay-per-view that they're giving away for free on the WWE Network for new subscribers.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. Although the Triple H and Sting thing seems pretty cool, because that is a wrestling history moment.
That is very cool. You know, you have the WWE Network. You're going to get this new pay-per-view. If you're a subscriber, you get to watch Sting in a WWE ring. If you're a new subscriber, you get to watch Sting on a pay-per-view for free in WWE. You know, this is a good marketing strategy right here. I mean, you get to see Sting in WWE. Just that statement alone, you know, is
genius
epic.
Marketing. And I've thought about marketing for my future, my long-term future. I've always thought about going into marketing, and I always think of this idea because it's just so impressive. They're going to give you that free pay-per-view with Sting featured on it, going face-to-face with Triple H. All the fans watching that's going to say, "Oh my God, I want to buy the next one. I want to buy the next one." It's perfect. It's a great marketing strategy. I love it.
Now, before we sign off, let's just talk about some future matches that we could see at Fastlane, just real quick. Dean Ambrose has challenged Bad News Barrett. We saw this on SmackDown last week. He wants to be the Intercontinental Champion, which I love. I love this idea. I love the fact that Dean Ambrose was walking through the halls of WWE headquarters, saw the wall of pictures of past Intercontinental champions, and said, hey, I want my face on that wall. I want to be Intercontinental champion. I love it. I love that idea. I love the fact that he wants to be the Intercontinental champion. He's a former United States champion. He's held that title the longest in its WWE era, and he wants the Intercontinental title because he's pinned Wade Barrett in a non-title match before and wants to be the champion. I love it. I can't say it enough.
I think it's great. I think it's pretty good.
So, you can bet to see that at Fastlane. They just need to hurry up and announce that. Also, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro have gotten victories over the Usos in singles matches with both tag teams. Individual singles matches, they've gotten victories over the champs. You can probably bet to see that at WWE Fastlane.
For sure.
Not only that, but Naomi and Natalya, I think Natalya is finally embracing a heel side, because she blamed Jimmy and Naomi for ruining their double date dinner last week. So let's see where this goes. And they kind of argued on Monday Night Raw. So I'm interested. I'm intrigued to see how this is going to go. I actually want Natalya as a heel, because
I want Natalya as a heel too, but I want her to be a heel over a bigger issue, not just a double date dinner. Because when there's a feud over a dinner party or a date dinner or whatever, I'm curious more about what's for dinner, what they had for dinner instead of the whole what's going on. I don't think there should be more to it, right? Hopefully they add some more to the feud, and then it'll be great.
Yeah, and honestly, on Total Divas, I can't stand Natalya when she talks, and I already don't like her on the show, so I want a reason to not like her on Raw and SmackDown. I love her. I love her wrestling. I want to hear her be a heel again.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, she's a heel. As a person, she's a heel.
Well, of course, and she'd make a great heel, and hopefully they push her towards that.
Yeah, so, I would rather see Natalya as a heel. Let's see if she actually embraces that role. There's one more week before Fastlane. We have the go-home show for Raw and SmackDown next week. So, they have to develop. There's only 3 matches announced so far. The 3 that we've already talked about. So
you're going to see a lot more added this Monday probably then, since it's coming up very quickly.
Yeah, we have to. They have to get it done.
So we should see what's in store for it, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be good.
Indeed. So I think that's all we can talk about WWE and SmackDown. Kevin Owens is the new NXT champion. I'm happy about that. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I'm happy about that too. That was quick too. Very quick.
Yeah, I mean, NXT TakeOver Rival, do yourself a favor, go and watch that if you have the WWE Network. I'm just saying. Better than Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
If you were disappointed in the Royal Rumble and you wanted the whole hashtag cancel WWE Network BS hashtag that was going out there, don't cancel the network. Keep it and watch NXT. That's all I got to say about that.
NXT's great. It's the best it's ever been right now.
So, that's going to do it for the SmackDown Rundown. Jordan Garber, do you have any last words before we close out the show?
I always like promoting myself, giving a few plugs out there. Like I said, most importantly, follow me on Twitter, @Jordan J. Garber. Always stay tuned to my tweets. I tweet a lot now. So, yeah, you want to know more about Jordan Garber, follow me on Twitter, @Jordan J. Garber. Just, honestly, just stay tuned to AngryMarks.com. Thursday night AMP every Thursday. Great stuff. Always a great show. Next week we have Brittany Blake, so that's the upcoming Thursday at 8 p.m. Central. Thursday night AMP is always a great show. Of course, stay tuned to this show. It's really good. And coming very soon are the interviews on JGW with the 3 big names I've interviewed in January. Not history, but a very impressive thing I added to my resume in January, interviewing 2 world champions in a month, as the interviews with AJ Styles, Scott Steiner, and Kazarian will be up very soon on AngryMarks.com. Look forward to that. That's going to be good. And, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Stay tuned to the AngryMarks.com for all the other shows. It was great being on again.
That's awesome. Make sure you tune in and hit me up on Twitter at Nikolai if you want to give me feedback on this show, or if you want to discuss anything else that we talked about, or you give us your thoughts on Fastlane and WrestleMania, Undertaker, Bray Wyatt, all that other stuff. As always, check out AngryMarks.com, AngryMarks on Facebook and Twitter and on YouTube and everything else in between. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the SmackDown Rundown. We thank you for tuning in and checking us out. For producer Killer Kev, for my co-host Jordan Garber, this is Nikolai telling you, we'll see you next time.